We've got some major breaking news here, but first, just to set the stage, earlier today, Donald Trump nominated Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General, which led to this announcement from Mike Johnson.
Matt and I were classmates. We came to Congress at the same time in the 115th Congress in January 2017, and alphabetically, we're seated right next to one another in Judiciary Committee. We served there together for 7 years. Some of y'all who cover Judiciary know those are long meetings, so I got to know Matt very well. Look, I'll say this. Everyone who served with him will tell you he's one of the most intelligent members of Congress. He's an accomplished attorney. He's very concerned about the lawfare that has been occurring in the Department of Justice under the Biden administration, and the fact that the American people have lost their faith in our institutions of justice because of everything that they've seen. He's a reformer in his mind and heart, and I think that he'll bring a lot to the table on that. I think out of deference to us, he issued his resignation letter effective immediately of Congress. That caught us by surprise a little bit, but I asked him what the reasoning was, and he said, well, you can't have too many absences. So under Florida state law, there's about an 8-week period to select and fill a vacant seat. And so by doing so today, that allows me, I've already placed a call to Governor DeSantis in Florida and said, let's start the clock. He's in Italy at the moment, and so we're going to talk first thing in the morning about this. And if we start the clock now, if you do the math, we may be able to fill that seat as early as January 3rd when we take the new oath of office for the new Congress. So Matt would have done us a great service by making that decision as he did on the fly. And so we're grateful for that. So we move forward. Look, I'll say this about people have asked me all day long. President Trump is poaching all of your talent. Yes, but we have an embarrassment of riches here. The Republican conference is full of talented people who are extraordinary leaders and have great expertise, and everyone in this Congress, in this conference, could serve in a leadership position.
That Gaetz had already resigned from Congress, which obviously led to a lot of speculation. Was he just that bullish on the prospects of confirmation? Because let's face it, he's not the most popular guy in the Senate. Already a number of Republican senators expressed, let's say, chilliness to the prospect of him becoming the next Attorney General. But then it became clear exactly why he resigned, and it wasn't because he was just that certain that he would get confirmed by the Senate. This was reported by Punchbowl News. Quote, Representative Matt Gaetz's resignation from Congress came 2 days before the House Ethics Committee was set to vote on releasing a highly damaging report outlining its investigation into the Republican, according to multiple sources familiar with the probe. The committee planned to vote Friday on releasing the report. Ethics loses its jurisdiction over Gaetz when he leaves Congress. The secretive panel has been investigating Gaetz on and off since 2021. President-elect Donald Trump announced that he would nominate Gaetz to be Attorney General Wednesday. In other words, Gaetz knew that he was about to be skewered by a devastating report by the House Ethics Committee, a committee that was, by the way, controlled by Republicans, his own party. And so in order to get out ahead of that, he used the pretense of an AG nomination to resign so that he wouldn't face the humiliation of the ethics report. And what's worse, Trump was in on it, clearly. Let's not pretend that Trump didn't know this. I don't believe for a single second that they didn't have a heads up here, meaning Trump used the Attorney General of the United States of America spot as a vehicle to get Matt Gaetz out of legal trouble. Like, I just need to reiterate that for a second. Gaetz is about to be the subject of a damning expose that was regarding his illegal behavior, and in order to distract from that and give him an out, Trump offered him the role of the top law enforcement official in the United States of America? I'm sorry, but what in the actual fuck? Like, can we take a step back for a second? Even Republicans out there have to recognize that maybe putting someone who is currently contending with allegations of sex trafficking and other crimes for which there was apparently enough evidence that even a Republican-led committee felt the need to continue investigating in charge of the Justice Department may not be a great idea. Perhaps there's some bar, some threshold where putting people who are so aggressively and overtly hostile to the mission of the agency that they're leading shouldn't be crossed. Perhaps with the agency tasked with holding criminals to account, one might think that the Law and Order Party, even with a convicted felon at the helm, might care at least a little about actual law and order. Now, for those who aren't aware of the Ethics Committee investigation, a witness had told investigators for the committee that Gaetz had paid her via Venmo for sex. According to ABC News, investigators have interviewed at least half a dozen women who allegedly attended parties where the Florida congressman was also present and who were paid by Joel Greenberg, Gaetz's one-time close friend. Greenberg was sentenced in 2022 to 11 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to multiple charges, including sex trafficking a minor and introducing the minor to other adult men. Also in the article, in the interviews, which have previously not been reported, some witnesses have shown Venmo payments they allegedly received from Gates and asked if those payments were for sexual activities, sources said. Some of the witnesses have been subpoenaed by the committee, while others have agreed to cooperate according to the sources. And of course, with characteristic defiance, Gates had responded to this news by posting, "The House Ethics Committee had closed 4 probes into me, which emerged from lies intended solely to smear me. Instead of working with me to ban congressional stock trading, the Ethics Committee is now opening new frivolous investigations. They are doing this to avoid the obvious fact that every investigation into me ends the same way, my exoneration. This is Soviet. Kevin McCarthy showed them the man, and they are now trying to find the crime. I work for Northwest Floridians who won't be swayed by this nonsense, and McCarthy and his goons know it." And of course, the jab at McCarthy should come as no surprise, given McCarthy's public comments about Matt Gaetz regarding this very topic.
But you want Gaetz to lose. Clearly, you're supporting his primary opponent. Why do you want him out? Just because, is it simply because he led the charge to push you out?
No, I just don't think Gaetz is a conservative. I mean, and if you think about it, if there's anybody who should go to trial, I mean, Gaetz is one who should be convicted in a trial.
Why? Why do you say that?
Well, we all know the challenge here. You can't sleep with underage women and think you can get away with it. I mean,
he denies that.
Well, the women don't, and so there's people in jail because of it, and I think that's a place that people should have a court. I just don't think that as an individual should be represented in Congress.
You made a lot of concessions in the negotiations.
No, I didn't. Okay,
is that
let's get to the bottom of that.
Right?
That is such a misnomer in life. Let me give you the truth about that now. And I'll give you the truth why I'm not speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress, wanted me to stop an ethics complaint because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started before I ever became speaker, and that's illegal, and I'm not going to get in the middle. Did he do it or not? I don't know. But ethics is looking at it. There's other people in jail because of it. And he wanted me to influence it.
In fact, it wasn't just Kevin McCarthy. Here's another Republican calling out Gaetz publicly.
The House is a rough and rowdy place, but Mike Johnson is going to be just fine. I served 20 years in the military. It's my absolute honor to be in Congress, but I served with some real scumbags. Look, Matt Gaetz, he paid minors to have sex with him at drug parties. Bob Good endorsed my opponent, a known neo-Nazi. These people used to walk around with white hoods at night. Now they're walking around with white hoods in the daytime.
And look, I will note for posterity that the Justice Department opted not to charge Matt Gaetz, which I suppose shouldn't come as much of a surprise at the hands of Merrick Garland's DOJ, whose MO is never offering even the optics of any politicization. But the fact that a Republican-led House committee pursued this topic anyway is perhaps a testament to how damning it is. And yet, maybe that's why Matt Gaetz not only wants to be Attorney General now, but has been clamoring for it publicly for over a year. Here he is in August 2023 threatening the prospect of becoming Attorney General then.
You never know, David. It may be an Attorney General Matt Gaetz down the road or someone of my liking who will be there to actually enforce the law and provide the accountability, not just the vision, but the actual accountability. The people that are sending you those messages deserve that in a free and just and constitutional republic.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do. And I like that. I like that. Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Are you kidding me? Man.
The world is not ready. Probably. Certainly Senate confirmation wouldn't be. But, you know,
well, we're getting
a
there.
boy can dream.
Not unlike Trump, Gaetz probably recognizes that the easiest way to avoid being held accountable by the government is to run it. And it's not far-fetched to imagine why a president who is using his office right now to avoid prosecution would then nominate someone whose promotion to the head of the DOJ would also help him avoid accountability. Birds of a feather. So at this point, we now wait to see what happens with regard to the House ethics vote on releasing the Gaetz report. As Punchbowl mentioned, this basically becomes moot now that Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress, but perhaps this Republican-led committee still votes to release the findings anyway. We also wait to see what happens with regard to the Senate vote to confirm Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, especially in light of this news. Hopefully, in both of these scenarios, sanity will prevail, but we don't have much reason for optimism. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.